What if I told you that her silence is not your defeat, but your doorway to becoming untouchable? You feel the sting when she pulls away, when your messages are met with nothing but space. And in that silence, your mind spirals. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? But here's the truth. That pain is your proving ground, not a punishment, but a call to reclaim yourself. Because what she really wants, what any woman truly respects, is a man who doesn't crumble when he's overlooked. A man who doesn't chase noise, but radiates peace. Core truth: indifference is not the end. It's your beginning, if you let it be. You're standing at a threshold right now. You can beg, blame and spiral, or you can rise, grow silent yourself and let your presence become undeniable. So if you're ready to stop seeking validation and start living with purpose, hit like, subscribe, turn on notification, and comment below. Her silence made me stronger. Number 1. The art of not reacting, but reclaiming. She pulls away, she doesn't text back, she leaves your message unseen, or worse, she acts like you were never there. And most men, they chase, they apologize, they spiral. But the stoic man, he does something far more powerful. He doesn't react, he reclaims. This video dives into the quiet power of doing nothing strategically. Not as a game, not to hurt her, but to rebuild yourself in a way that makes you impossible to ignore. When a woman dismisses you, it's not always about you. Sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's a test, but every time it's an opportunity. Step 1. Indifference is your loudest response. Don't text again. Don't explain. Don't demand answers. Just go still. With no bitterness, no sarcasm, no drama, this calm, emotionless silence hits different. Because while she expects reaction, you deliver mystery. And mystery destabilizes ego faster than begging ever will. Step 2. Want nothing, expect nothing. The moment you wait for a response, you lose power. Stoicism teaches freedom begins when expectation ends. When she feels your emotional detachment, she starts wondering, why isn't he affected? And that's when the roles begin to shift. Step 3. Disappear to echo. Cut the signal, remove your presence. The silence becomes loud. She starts checking if you're online, wondering why you're no longer reacting. This echo effect creates a vacuum she can't ignore. And it's not because you played games, but because you stopped playing altogether. Step 4. Let your growth reflect her absence. No revenge, no posts, just evolution. Let her stumble across the version of you who leveled up while she was gone. Her ego wanted attention. What it finds instead is your absence and transformation. Step 5. Remove yourself from her map. Disappear from familiar places. Social media, hangouts, DMs. Be where she doesn't expect you. This breaks the control loop. She realizes you've stopped orbiting her world, and that's when the tension turns inward for her. Step 6. Reappear better, not bitter. When you do return, don't return for her, return for you. With clearer eyes, stronger posture, deeper peace. Let your silence speak louder than her ghosting ever did. Final truth? She may have ignored the old you, but the version that didn't flinch, didn't beg, and didn't wait, that version stays with her, not in her inbox, but in her mind. Now comment below. My silence speaks louder than her attention ever did. Number 2. Why indifference breaks the ego more than anger ever could. When a woman ignores you, she's not just pulling back. It's often a move powered by ego. She wants to know if she still has control, if you'll chase, if your world still orbits around her. Most men oblige, rushing in with double texts, overcore apologies or emotional pleas, but not the stoic man. He doesn't flinch. He responds with indifference. and that response echoes where words can't reach. Indifference isn't apathy, it's control. It's refusing to hand your emotional state over to someone else's whim. When you respond with avoid, not cold, not bitter, just absent, you send a message that reverberates through her ego. You no longer affect me. This is devastating to someone who relied on being the center of your attention, because the moment she realizes your emotional weather doesn't change with her presence or absence, she starts questioning her influence. That's the crack in the ego. That's when curiosity creeps in. Why didn't he react? Did I not matter? Has he moved on? And all of that happens without a single word from you. The key here is tone. Stoicism doesn't teach suppression, it teaches redirection. You're not bottling rage, you're channeling it into poise. You don't argue, you upgrade. You don't retaliate, you rise. The game isn't about outplaying her, it's about outgrowing the need to play. When you treat being ignored not as a wound but as a mirror, you discover something powerful. Her silence wasn't about you, it was about her control. And when that control no longer works, you become unforgettable. Not because you forced her to feel something, but because you made peace with her absence. This is how ego collapses. Not with confrontation, but with quiet evolution. And that's why she starts paying attention again, not because you tried to win her, but because you stopped needing to. Now comment below. Indifference isn't cold, it's controlled power. Number 3, letting go of expectation, the power of needing nothing. The moment you expect something from someone who's pulling away, you've already surrendered your power. When a woman ignores you and you wait for closure, chase an explanation or hope for a message, you're placing your peace into her hands, and she can feel it. What she won't tell you is this. Emotional debt creates emotional control. If you're waiting for her to do something, respond, explain, apologize, you're in debt. And once you're in debt, she becomes the creditor of your self-worth. That's when the imbalance begins. You're no longer standing still, you're leaning forward. And leaning is just one step from falling. The Stoic man flips this. He operates on a completely different premise. I expect nothing, and therefore I am free. He doesn't wait to be chosen. He doesn't wait to be acknowledged. He chooses himself, again and again, and in doing so, he becomes untouchable. This isn't detachment out of bitterness. It's sovereignty through discipline. Because when you remove expectation, you remove the leverage anyone has over your emotions. You become the man who can walk into any interaction, give freely, receive what comes, and leave without needing a specific outcome. That's rare. That's powerful. That's dangerous in the best way. When she senses that you no longer seek her approval, her energy, or her response, the dynamic shifts. Her ego, once inflated by your pursuit, begins to deflate in your silence. And in that void, she starts to question, did I lose something real? It's not a tactic, it's not revenge, it's self-mastery. You've stopped playing her game, not by quitting, but by becoming a player in a different league. So the next time you're tempted to expect something from someone who's ignoring you, ask yourself, why would I hand my inner peace to someone who's already walked away from it? Expect nothing, need nothing, stand still, and watch everything return to you. Now comment below, when I expect nothing, I reclaim everything. Number 4, the echo effect, when your absence speaks louder than your words. There's a strange thing that happens when you go completely silent. Not with bitterness, not with passive aggression, but with full, calm acceptance. People begin to hear you louder. And no one feels it more intensely than the one who used to have your attention. This is the echo effect, a psychological tension created not by words, but by the absence of them. When a woman once accustomed to your energy, presence, and responses suddenly finds only silence, she doesn't experience peace, she experiences void, and voids beg to be filled. Most men fear this space. They rush to close the gap, to explain, to check in, but the man who understands the power of stillness doesn't react. He lets the silence do the speaking for him. From a Stoic perspective, this is not avoidance, it's awareness. You recognize that presence is power, and when given too freely, it loses weight. But when it's withdrawn with dignity, it becomes a force, not of revenge but of reflection. It forces her to confront the space you once occupied, without noise, without drama. The absence of your reaction becomes louder than any reply. It says, "You don't control my peace," and ironically, that silence disrupts her more than any emotional plea ever could. You're no longer trying to win her back. You're showing that she's no longer the center of your emotional universe. That disruption grows over time. Days pass. She checks your story, sees you moving forward, improving, glowing differently. And that contrast? Between her expectation of your desperation and your actual stillness, it's deafening. The echo you leave behind isn't an accident. It's the natural result of letting go while leveling up. When you stop explaining yourself and start expanding yourself, she hears the version of you she never thought she'd lose. Let the silence be the proof that you've risen above the game. Now comment below, "My absence echoes louder than her silence." Number 5. Becoming the mirror, reflecting her energy without saying a word. She disappears, she plays cold, she expects you to chase, but instead of folding or fighting back, you become something else entirely, a mirror, not to mock her, not to hurt her, but to reflect, in full stillness, the exact energy she sends your way. The mirror doesn't speak. It doesn't judge. It doesn't try to convince. It simply shows. And when you become that mirror, through calmness, growth, and discipline, you show her what her behavior actually looks like from the outside. And here's the twist. Most people don't like the reflection. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes a weapon of clarity. Instead of overanalyzing or reacting emotionally, you step back, you let your actions do the talking. No cryptic stories, no revenge photos, just a consistent life upgrade that speaks one truth. You lost access to a man who never needed you, but chose you. That's what destabilizes the ego, because most people assume you'll collapse without them, but when you reflect back, only stillness, independence, and progress. They feel the absence of control, and that stings far more than any insult. Your life becomes the message. The gym sessions you didn't skip, the money you didn't blow, the nights you didn't beg for a reply. These things stack quietly but visibly. And when she sees that evolution, without her in the picture, she starts to realize, maybe he was never chasing me. Maybe he was always building himself. The mirror works because it shows, not tells. No bitterness, no pettiness, just presence, growth, and detachment. And in that reflection, her games collapse. Not because you punished her, but because you outgrew her need to matter. You never needed revenge. You needed discipline. No comment below, "I don't chase, I reflect and rebuild." Number 6. Removing yourself from her world, strategic disappearance. There's a subtle shift that breaks her control, not through conflict, but through absence. Not the kind of disappearance fueled by anger, but one anchored in clarity. You stop showing up in the places she expects. You're no longer watching her stories, liking her posts, or lingering where she assumes you'll be. And suddenly, the silence becomes strategic. This is invisibility with intention. It's not about ghosting, it's about cutting the emotional tether she still uses to check if she owns space in your world. When you remove your digital and physical presence, you interrupt her loop of control, and in that disruption, she begins to feel the imbalance. Why? Because attention is currency, and when you stop investing, she starts feeling broke. She doesn't get to feel powerful from your quiet likes, your passive views, your subtle presence. Instead, she sees a man who no longer revolves around her. And that shift hits deeper than any speech. From the Stoic point of view, this is self-respect in motion. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By removing yourself, you prove mastery. You don't announce your exit, you simply walk into a better space, a quieter one where her attention isn't your oxygen. This space you create isn't empty, it's charged. Because while she scrolls through familiar names and doesn't find yours, while she walks into places you used to be and senses your absence, her mind starts asking questions. Not because you triggered her, but because you disappeared without flinching. And that's the most unsettling kind of power, the kind that doesn't try to be seen. So vanish from the expected, stop performing proximity, be in places she doesn't own, because the less accessible you are, the more noticeable your silence becomes. Now comment below, I remove myself from places where I'm no longer valued. Number 7. Return as the man she can no longer control. You didn't vanish to get a reaction. You didn't level up for revenge. You disappeared because you had work to do. Inner work, outer work. Real transformation, not the kind you show off, but the kind that shows itself. And now, when you reappear, you don't even need to say a word. Your presence speaks. I'm not the same man you walked away from. The power of reoccurrence isn't in proving a point, it's in proving growth. You're not here to flex. You're here because you've changed. She sees it in the way you carry yourself, the clarity in your eyes, the way you move without hesitation, the absence of seeking. And that, more than anything, disarms her. From a Stoic view, this is the natural fruit of inner discipline. You didn't spend time replaying the past or hoping she'd return. You spent time becoming the man who no longer needs validation to feel valuable. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." She now faces something she never expected. A man she once dismissed, now unreachable. Not because you blocked her, but because you're beyond the game she was playing. You didn't return to be reclaimed, you returned to reclaim yourself. She may test the waters, reach out, compliment, ask casual questions, but now your posture has changed. You're calm, warm, but unavailable. You're listening but not leaning. She doesn't feel the pull she once relied on, and it shakes her. That's the true reversal, not punishment, but presence. The presence of a man who grew in her absence, a man who now sees her not as a prize, but as a person, and from that clarity he chooses what truly aligns. So when you return, don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just be the version of you she can no longer predict, control, or forget. Now comment below, I don't return for her, I return as someone she can't touch anymore. Number 8. The silent rebuild, turning her rejection into your reinvention. When she ignored you, it hurt, but not because she mattered more than you. It hurt because a part of you still needed external confirmation to feel whole. But here's where everything changed. You didn't chase, you chose silence. And in that silence, you didn't just recover, you rebuilt. This is the final truth. Being ignored was never the end. It was the beginning of your transformation from a man who reacts to a man who redefines himself. She thought you'd fade. Instead, you forged fire out of absence. Stoicism teaches that every challenge is raw material. As Seneca said, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Her silence? That was your friction, your fuel, your test. And you didn't fold. You sharpened. Now you carry something she can't take away. Earned peace. A kind of quiet confidence that doesn't rise and fall with someone's interest. You're no longer measuring your worth by presence or replies. You've realized you are not what others give to you. You are what you give to yourself. And she can feel it. She scrolls. She sees you shining, not in arrogance but in alignment. You're calm, centered, surrounded by better people, deeper purpose, and a self-respect that makes you untouchable. She won't say it, but she knows. You became unforgettable the moment you stopped needing to be remembered. That's what this journey was always about. Not punishing her, not winning, but becoming so solid that no one's absence can unground you again. So let her silence echo. Let your presence expand. Let the man you've become say the words you never needed to speak. I became more because you disappeared. Because that's not a loss. That's legacy. Now comment below. I used the silence to become someone unshakable. You started this journey feeling rejected, maybe even humiliated, staring at read messages, overanalyzing her every move, but now you understand. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to lead. By choosing peace over reaction, purpose over pettiness, you didn't just earn her regret, you earned your own respect. She didn't break you. She revealed what needed rebuilding. And now the man she ignored is the man she'll never reach again, not because you're cruel, but because you've climbed. But if you're ready to rise above the games, like this video, subscribe and comment. I respond with growth, not grief. Stay still, stay powerful, because real strength doesn't shout, it simply walks away and never looks back.